Hi everyone, Nicholas Buffett here from sunny Cyprus and welcome to today's tutorial. Now, if you're an educator and you use Microsoft Teams for your classes, then this tutorial is for you. I'm going to show you 7 tips and tricks which I personally use with my classes in all my class teams, and believe me, they are awesome, they work, and they do help you and the students stay under the umbrella of Microsoft Teams while allowing you to focus on the teaching and learning. Trust me, guys, these are awesome tips. You will really enjoy these. Now, if you want to jump ahead to one of the tips, then just look in the description below. Use the timestamps while you're there. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and let's get started with the first awesome tip. Emailing all the members of a class team. Now, notice I say a class team. It has to be a class team. When you're creating a team, make sure you're doing this. If I go to manage team and create a class team, make sure you're using class teams. Now, you probably are for your classes, but if you've got a whole school team also, then make sure that's a class team as well, because this feature of sending an email to the team name is only available with a class team. So how do we do this? Well, very easily, to find the email address of a team, essentially it's the team name with the domain, so whatever your school domain is. Now, because many educators, instead of creating a new team each year, they just rename the team, the email address is actually the name of the original name of that team. So to make sure you're sending the email to the correct team, do this. Go to the file section. Click on the ... if you don't see the opening SharePoint. So click on that, opening SharePoint, and then just put your mouse over the name of that team. You can now see the button here, send email. By doing this, you can now see the email address for that team. Now you can send an email from here directly, or you can just make a note of that email address. And whenever you want to email all the members of that team, your class team or your students, just send an email address to that. Here's a little bonus tip. Doesn't count as number 2, still number 1. If you actually create a calendar entry, so I'm just going to open my calendar. Here we go. I'm just going to bring this up in Microsoft Outlook, the application now. Okay, so if I just double click to create an entry here, I can create a Teams meeting. Now, I know you can schedule this in Microsoft Teams, but I like doing this through Outlook. And then in the required section, if I actually put the team email address, so if I just go and bring that up again, so let me just copy that. So there we go. Send the email. If I copy that, Control C. Now I can just put in the required field here, and then whenever I save this calendar entry, it will be scheduled in every team member's calendar automatically, just like doing it from Teams. But I prefer doing it from the Outlook calendar because I've just got so many more options and it's easier for me to do. Tip number 2 is all about making the personal working space of each student available to them directly within Teams so they don't have to look for it and they're able to upload and download material directly from Teams. So to do this, we're going to go to the Files section. Now, I'm doing this as a teacher. I'm going to go from my Files section. I'm going to click here where it says Documents. So I can go back a level. Click on the little library button here. Scroll down and I'm going to go to Student Work. Now from here, what we want to do is to open up the Working Files folder. Now, essentially, students can access this and they will access their individual folder. Here I can see all the students' folders directly from my screen, and students will only see their individual one. But what we're going to do, we're going to make this accessible to them as a tab at the top so they don't have to look for it. So to do this, I'm going to go to the ... menu at the top, open in SharePoint. And all I have to do now is take the URL from the top. So I'm just going to click here to select all of this. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to go back to my Teams. And now I'm going to add a web page as a tab. Paste my link here. And I'm just going to call this Student Work. I'm not going to post that. So I'm just going to click on Save. Now what's happened, this is now available to the students as a folder, as a tab at the top. So here it is, student work. Okay, and when they go to that, as a teacher, I'm able to see all the students' folders, so I can access their work really easily. But as a student, if I come over here, this is a student view. So this is a student which is signed in. Student will be able to look at the top here. Look at that, it's got student work. And the student will only see their own individual folder as opposed to the teacher over here seeing all the student work. And now the student's able to simply open this, create folders, add new folders, download material or upload material directly from Teams simply by clicking on that tab at the top. Okay, so for tip number 3, we're going to talk about calendars. Now, I'm going to show you first how we can add a channel calendar in Microsoft Teams, and we can add multiple calendars. But these calendars are accessible and editable, so read-write access to all members of the team. So essentially, if you do use this for a class, the students will be able to delete entries, and this is not ideal. If you do, however, want to create calendars where only you, the educator, can add items and the students can only view, then I'm going to have a link to a tutorial in the description, and you should see it pop up right now up here, a tutorial which shows you exactly how you can do that, how you can create a calendar and manage the permissions so you can make others have only read-only access and other people can have full access, read and write access. But for this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can create a channel calendar. And this is really suitable if you have a staff team. So if you've got a staff team with all your educators in from the school, then it's really a good idea if you have calendars for each year group, and then you can use these calendars to see what days other staff, other teachers have assigned a test to each year group. And this avoids us teachers basically overloading students with many tests on one day. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to very quickly go to this test team here that I've got. I'm going to add another channel. I'm just going to call this tests. Sorry, tests. I'm just going to click on add, and that basically creates this channel. So all the staff will have access to this channel. And from the test, I'm going to click on the plus sign to add a tab at the top. I'm going to search for calendar. I'm going to click on the calendar, and I'm going to call this, for example, year 7, and click. I'm just going to remove that. I don't want to post it, and click on add. And now I've got a calendar for year 7. And if I want one for year 8, I can do the same again. Click on my channel calendar, call that year 8. And then for each year group in the school, we can make a tests calendar, and staff can go ahead and book these calendars here. This is one that we've got at the school. So you can see here, we've got all year 7 through to year 13. If I click on year 8, as a teacher, I can go see that, let's say the 19th on the Thursday of January. Well, that's quite old. So let's go to February. So February, year 8s haven't been assigned very many tests right now. So I can choose any day. But let's say in January, there's quite a few here. If I click on year 7, for example, I can see tests that have been assigned to year 7. And you can see here they've got 2 tests. One of them is actually for me. But essentially, I can very clearly see what days students have got tests, and I avoid those days if they've already got 2 tests on that day. Okay, tip number 4 is inspired from the teacher-only section in OneNote class notebook. And the beautiful thing about this section is that teachers are able to put resources in that folder, and the students just can't see that folder at all. It allows teachers to be able to prepare things like tests, mark sheets, work on resources they don't want to give to students yet, but keep everything within the same OneNote class notebook. And I wanted to do the same with Microsoft Teams so that I can have all of my resources and resources that I'm working on within the same class team, but not give access to the students. So this is a really easy process. We simply create a folder and change the permissions. So let's start. So this is the teacher view section here. You can see my profile picture. I'm in my Microsoft Teams. I'm going to go to the file section here. And from here, I'm just going to create a new folder. Okay, so the folder, I'm just going to call it teacher only folder. Call it whatever you like. And again, you can, by creating this now, it's automatically going to be available to the students as well. And students are going to be able to actually edit and modify anything that we've got in here. Let's have a look at the student area now. So if I just load this, there we go. So this is a student section. You can see the profile picture up here. You can see that folder is now visible to the students. So we want to make that invisible and make it read only. Well, we don't want to share this folder with the students, full stop. So let's go back to the teacher section. Here we go. So this is my area. I'm going to click on the dot menu next to this folder. I'm going to click on details. And on the right hand side, we can see the manage access. I'm going to click on manage access here. And that opens a pop-up window showing who has access to this folder and what permissions they have. So these are owner sections. Owners are you and any other teachers that you add to this Microsoft team, this class team, and make them owners. And down here, we've got the visitor access, which is view only. Well, I don't want anyone to be able to see this folder. So I'm going to click on this little down arrow and stop sharing, remove. And this one here, this is the members area. Now, members, these are the students. So students are members. Again, this is read, write access. They can edit. I don't want to share this with them either. So I'm just going to click on this and click on stop sharing and remove. Now, what that's done, I can close that now, and that's it. Okay, this folder now is private to owners only. So if I now go to the student section, so this is the student version of the Teams, and I reload this page, you're going to see that this folder now is going to vanish. So if I just click on reload, and we can see here that folder is gone. So not only do they not have access to edit, they don't have access to view that folder at all. So you've just created your very own teacher only folder, and you can keep all your resources for that class inside that folder nice and securely. Tip number 5 is all about scheduling chat messages. Now, this is particularly useful for educators who work after hours, after school hours, late in the evening, or late at night. And who am I kidding? That's all of us. Now, many times with me, as I'm either marking or I think of something that I need to inform a student of, then I tend to send a chat message to that student because students tend to see their chat messages quite regularly because it's on their mobile phone. But that kind of triggers a communication response. So the students will actually see this and they will respond and I will respond back. And that just takes up my time of my marking or just increases the time that I'm working after hours. So because I don't want to forget to send this information to the student, I normally do that as soon as I think of it. But it would be better if I could remember and send it in the morning. So I probably won't. So a really fantastic feature is this number tip where you can actually schedule the chat message to leave at the time that you want. So here's how you can do this. I've opened the chat box here, my chat with this student number 2. And basically what I want to do is to send a message to the student to come see me tomorrow morning. And I don't want to trigger a response for them to respond to me late in the evening. So let me just type my message. Now, to schedule this chat, I'm going to, instead of clicking on the send button, I'm going to right click on this send button. And now I can choose when this message is going to leave. So it's actually this I'm going to put, let's say for the 31st, which is going to be the Tuesday. And I want that to go at 8 a.m. So tomorrow morning. And as soon as I do that, I'm going to click send at scheduled time. And that's it. And you can see here, select send to deliver on Tuesday. Now, this is a great feature because the student doesn't know when you actually sent this. As far as the student is concerned, you sent this 8 a.m. So it may be that some of you want to try and show your bosses or your heads of department that you're working late at night and you can schedule things to go out at 2 o'clock in the morning, for example. Anyway, this is a new feature. I really do like it. It's fantastic. So make good use of it. Okay, tip number 6 is about assignments. Now, assignments is nothing new to us educators if we're using Microsoft Teams, but I did find that especially with project work or unit work, I was setting, say, 2, 3, 4 assignments for that same unit of work or that project. So this is a fantastic little tip to save you time and not have to create so many assignments, which does actually take time. So what I've done here, I've got a project. It's a project based on databases, and I put this all in one assignment. And you can see here it's separated into 4 parts, and each part has got its own marks. So the idea behind this is that I set one assignment, I set a deadline for part 1. Students will attach any work that they have to attach for part 1. I give them feedback on that, and then I extend the deadline, and they will use that same assignment to attach the work for part 2. So if we have a look at this assignment, part 1 was all about them creating a database. Then part 2, it was about adding data to the database. Now this database was about, it was a cross-curricular database with the science department. So they were doing access with me, and they were collecting information about leaves, storing all of this data about the leaves in a database in access, which they created. Then they will produce queries based on that data. And then those queries will be exported as an Excel file where they will produce a chart. So each one of these parts had their own marking criteria, and this is clearly described in the description section here. So how many marks for each section and what they would do for each section in the description. And as soon as they completed one step, they will attach their work. I will give them feedback, and then I will extend the deadline, and then it will be part 2. Now you're going to say, well, they can add or they can change their work. That's absolutely fine when it comes to project work, because I want them to act on that feedback and improve their work. What they can't change, however, is the feedback I give them in the comments, in the feedback section. So that's fixed. So whatever grade I give them, that's fixed. Whatever feedback I give them, that's fixed. Let's have a look at one of these. So if I just cancel this editing here. So if we have a look here in the return, this is student number 2. And basically, you can see they've submitted their database here. And this is the work that I gave them in OneNote for them to complete. And you can see these are the leaves that they had to do. And I gave them a sample form that they were going to use to basically use as a template so they can create. And once they completed part 1, they got their grades for that. They got their feedback for part 1. They got their marks out of 20 for part 1. Then part 2 was completed, and we're up to there. Now they have to do part 3. So once they do part 3, they will attach their work. They will get feedback for part 3, and so on and so forth. And at the end of the project, I will give them their marks out of 100. So the beautiful thing about this is you can keep the entire unit of work, which may contain 2, 3, 4 assignments or pieces of work that they have to submit, but you only need to create one assignment in Microsoft Teams. Makes it so much easier for the students as well, because they don't have a whole bundle of assignments inside your Teams. Okay, tip number 7 is all about generating a list of all the members, or the students, for example, and the owners of a class team. Now, this is not a feature which is available in Microsoft Teams, but there is a little trick that you can use using a piece of script or some code, which I'm going to give you in a second, and it's really, really easy to do. I find the need to have a list of my class generated in a CSV file absolutely crucial. Whether I want to do mail merge, whether I just want to import the names of my students in an Excel file, or for whatever reason, we're always looking to have a list of our class. So first of all, you're going to need a copy of this code here. Now, you're not going to do anything with this code. Let me just open that up. There we go. So that's the code you're going to need. Now, I suggest you actually copy paste this code. It's going to be in the description. The whole code is going to be in the description below, but I'm also going to add the link to the person who generated this code. So this is Guillaume Meyer. This script is absolutely fantastic. It just makes life so much easier. And all you have to do is copy paste the code, and that's it. So let me show you how this works. I'm just going to copy this code directly from here now. But as I said, you do have access to this code in the description below, and it is a good idea to just copy paste this in a notepad somewhere. So I've copied that code. I'm going to go to my Teams. Now, keep in mind, you can see that today I'm actually using Teams from my browser. All of the tips up until now you can do from either the browser or you can do it using the application. This particular tip, you have to be using the browser version. So you have to sign into Teams through your browser. Now, the next step is you want to go and see all the members of the team. So this is my team. I'm going to click on the ... manage team. And now I need to expand the members and guests. Now, if you've got many members and guests in this team, you need to scroll down to the bottom, all the way down to the last one, because only then will all of those names be actually be recorded in the code of the page that you're looking at. The next step is you can right click anywhere on this page and choose inspect. And that's going to open this side window here, which actually inspects the web page, because don't forget, we're looking at Teams through the browser, so it's actually like a web page. The next thing is I want to make sure that I'm looking at the console version. So I'm going to click on console. If you don't see console, then click on the two arrows here, and it will be listed here, so you can select it. So you want to go to console. At the bottom now, down here, this is where you can actually add text. And what you're going to do, you're going to paste that code, and that's it. I'm going to press Control V. It pastes the code, and then I'm going to press Enter. And check this out. Look at that down here. It's just downloaded the CSV file with all the users. Let's have a look at it. So if I double click on this, there they are. I now have a CSV file with all my users, and it actually tells you whether they're owners or members, making it really easy for you to see who's a student and who's not. It will actually give you their title, and if you've got any other information in there, that will be saved as well. Okay, those were my 7 top tips. If you like this video, if you find any of these tips useful and you thought, that's fantastic, I want to use that, make sure to let us know. Put it down in the comments section below. And while you're there, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. I'll see you again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.